And always remember that if you are not growing, you are dying. None of us are perfect. It takes reevaluating over and over and over again to get to the results that you want, that you deserve.
Welcome back. In this particular episode, we're going to look at a video once again. As long as she continues to put out content that is thought provoking and that personally I appreciate, I'm going to continue to react to the Blooming Ebony, my sister Chris. And this particular video is no exception to what she's been putting out lately. She is speaking about settling and what's the value in it. Is it a reasonable take on trying to find a relationship, a long-term, suitable relationship that will provide contentment and happiness for an individual, that will provide joy? Is settling what individuals make it out to be? Do you find yourself in a situation where you don't have the things that you really need when you decide to settle? Well, Chris is going to answer those particular questions for us. But before we start, please like, comment, and subscribe to the Blooming Ebony. As I mentioned before, this is Chris's channel. And I think that both men and women will benefit from her perspective. And so to get into the video, let's see what her perspective is in this particular case on settling.
Welcome back to the Blooming Ebony. Oh my goodness. This video is going to be a lot. It's going to be a lot, but I think it'll make sense. I don't think it's going to be too painful to watch for a lot of the women out there who see the title and probably going to be immediately offended. I don't think this video will be too much, but before we get into it, please do me a favor and like and subscribe. It would help me out so much. And leave a comment below if you think that you are good enough to settle. I'm curious, so curious. But we're going to dive in. Okay, so before we get into the nitty-gritty, I want to tell a little story. So growing up, my mom used to always tell myself and my two older sisters, you never want a man who doesn't want you, and you don't want to chase a man. They will come to you. And growing up, I didn't really know why she was telling me this. I didn't understand the point. I didn't understand it seemed like common sense, I guess. I didn't understand the logic behind it. I thought it was like, oh yeah, of course, everyone knows that. You shouldn't want anything that doesn't want you. That's a waste of your time, right? But then I started watching Kevin Samuels, and I am hearing all these women who seem delusional. And it doesn't make any sense to me. It really doesn't make any sense to me. This idea that you're worth more than what you're worth. And I feel like this translates into their career. You know, in their career, they understand this. They know, okay, my services are only worth 70,000. So you don't go into your interview asking for 120 grand because you know you're going to get denied for that job. You're not qualified to make that type of income. That makes sense to a lot of women. When they start their own businesses and they try and sell their candles or whatever it may be, they don't overprice them. You know, they check the market to see, you know, how much is this type of candle going for? You know that, you know, the normal candle is going for $15 and you try and sell yours for 35. No one's going to buy it. We see this everywhere, but for some reason in the dating world, we want things to be soft, you know, and easy and simple, but it's not. It's not, and it's never going to be. And I don't understand why so many women are setting themselves up for failure in this area. It's kind of scary, to be honest. It absolutely scares me. But if this doesn't make sense to you, if you're thinking to yourself, oh, this doesn't pertain to me, let me give you an analogy. Let's say you are car shopping and you have BMW money, and you go and you get to the dealership and they're like, oh, we're out of the BMW that you want. And you're like, oh man, but you already went through the process. You're qualified, you know, your credit matches up, you have the cash in hand, they're ready to sell it to you, but they just don't have it to sell to you. Okay. And you go, oh, well, I need a car. So I'm going to go get a Nissan. I'm going to go settle for this This Nissan is right down the street, and I need a car to get me to work. I don't have time to wait for this BMW to come back. And deep down, you have this resentment for this Nissan because you want to be rolling in a BMW, and you had the ability to. You had the opportunity to bring it home and keep it forever. It was in your reach. It was one of your options. Okay? That is settling. You wanted the BMW. You could have had the BMW. The BMW was ready to come home with you, but they didn't have any more. So then you had to settle for a Nissan. But you were worth a BMW.
So usually I would not pause in the middle of a thought, especially when I am in full agreement with the content creator, but I had to pause to allow that particular analogy that was so clear, so logical, so reasonable. I wanted that to sink in with everyone. So let's just review for a second. You're car shopping, and as Chris says, you meet all the qualifications to purchase a, let's say, an upper tier vehicle, automobile, a luxury automobile. And despite the fact that you're qualified, there are no luxury vehicles that you like, specifically a BMW in this particular case, that are available in the area. But you need something to ride in now. You need it now. You can't wait. And so down the street is a dealership that has cars. They're not luxury vehicles, but they're cars nevertheless, and they'll get you from A to B. And so what you decided to do, you decided to stop, think about matters, and you chose to purchase one of the vehicles that were not luxury vehicles. And as Chris mentioned, in that particular case, that would be settling because you qualify for something greater, but you choose to take something less than what you qualify for. So I think that that's a powerful analogy, but now I don't think the analogy is finished. I think she's about to go into it and explain further what it is that she means. So let's hop back into the video and make sure we get the complete point that Chris is making.
What I'm seeing now is I'm seeing people with Toyota money who only have Toyota money, who think to themselves, well, I want a BMW, but I settled for the Toyota. No. You did not settle for a Toyota. That's all you could get. That was your only option. Okay, does that make sense? You did not settle for a Toyota. All right, if you are a 5, you didn't settle for a 5. You got a 5 because that's what you are worth in the sexual marketplace. Like, I don't understand how this makes sense. I don't understand why there's so many women out here who think that they can get a Jay-Z when they're obviously not a Beyonce. Make it make sense. I understand you want to believe in your head that you're beautiful and you're perfect and everyone in the world should want you. That's perfectly fine, but at some point you have to ground yourself because having your head in the clouds is going to keep you single forever. Okay, I'm not saying put yourself down. No, I'm saying you're overvaluing yourself and you need to reevaluate. You need to reevaluate. That's it. I feel like this shouldn't be a hard concept. We literally see it everywhere. Everywhere. Things that are overvalued don't sell. It's a basic concept, and we always want to talk about how educated we are as women, so I feel like we should be able to understand this. People aren't going to pay for the product if it's being overvalued. If you didn't get this when Kevin Samuels was interviewing woman after woman after woman, telling them this, I don't even know what I could say to even help in this area, but think about that analogy because there are so many people thinking that they're settling, and it's just going to create this resentment for your partner, thinking, oh, I wish I had gotten this one guy that I met when I was 25. You know, we slept together, but we didn't get married. You weren't good enough to marry. You gave it a test drive, but your credit score just wasn't good enough. What's inside, what's up here, your attitude, all of that, you didn't pass the test. So we have to reevaluate. We have to. Like, I don't understand why we can't be humble. Okay, men don't care about the money you make. They don't care about the amount of degrees you have. They don't. They never have. They never will. But for some reason, we have convinced ourselves, and we're convincing our daughters and our nieces and our granddaughters that that's what men want. And then you watch them alone. I don't understand how, like, I don't have any children, and I just can't understand how a mother, knowing that her daughter's unhappy, can continue to let her go down a path that's going to make her unhappy. At some point, you should tell her, like, maybe you should reevaluate. Maybe I didn't do things the way that I should have done it. But you know what? What I'm learning is that looking in the mirror is really hard. Looking in the mirror is really, really hard. And you're not going to tell someone to not do something, because then you have to tell yourself that you did something wrong. If you know they're walking in your footsteps, you're not going to tell them that it's the wrong path, because then you have to reflect on yourself and know that you took the wrong path, and you don't have the humility. You have way too much ego to be able to get past this. And it's just hurting generation after generation after generation.
Once again, I had to stop you all. That is, for lack of a better expression, a brick through the windshield. If that doesn't get your attention, then nothing else in this video will. What Chris is describing is a generational curse. And I know that's thrown around quite a bit, but I think it's especially fitting in this particular instance because, like she said, the approach to how women in our community look at entering into a relationship with a man is mostly based upon the relationship that they've seen that their mother has with the men around them, or around her, I should say. And so if you're continuing to pass on misinformation, if you're continuing to give guidance that is not going to get your daughter to a better place in life, then that's exactly what you're doing. You're passing on the curse. You're passing on something later on that's going to cause that child to be angry and to be resentful toward that mother because she didn't give her the information that she needed to start her off right. She didn't give her the best information that she could have given her. And like Chris mentioned, that's going to cause a problem later on in life. Because if you are going into a situation and you're not dealing with that situation for what it is, if you're not living in reality, then the results that you obtain from approaching that situation with a biased or a clouded perspective is not going to be the results that you're looking for. You're not going to get them. If you want the result to be positive, if you want things to work out in your favor, you have to enter into situations knowing what's expected. What are the ground rules? How do I play this game? If I want to win the game, what steps do I have to take? And if mothers are not arming their daughters with the proper information, then you're setting your daughter up to lose the game. Let's keep going.
I don't get it. Take your head out the clouds. It's okay. It's not putting yourself down. Saying I have Toyota money, so I'm gonna go get a Toyota, the best Toyota I can find. That's not being desperate. That's not putting yourself down because you can see this man who's a millionaire. He doesn't want you, and you should not want what doesn't want you. Why put yourself through that? Failure after failure after failure. If anything, I feel like that's probably hurting you more than just reevaluating your value. I feel like that could easily contribute to the self-esteem problem we see in so many Black women, because they're telling themselves that they can have something that they never get for all these years, they have to sit here and convince themselves that it's not them when you could have just made an adjustment. A very, very simple adjustment. I hope that you enjoyed this video. I hope that it made sense. I hope it made sense. And if this resonated with you, maybe it's time to get a life coach to break some of these habits that you have. You know, try and find somebody who's going to be honest with you. It's going to instill some values in you that are actually beneficial in the long term. You know, because this greed isn't getting you anywhere. It doesn't look good. But I hope you enjoyed this video. It was a lot. This has been weighing me down for a long time because I'm tired of seeing women. It's like I can predict the amount of resentment they're going to have for men the minute that they say that they're settling for a good man. And it breaks my heart because I can see it's going to hurt that woman and it's going to hurt that man. But I truly hope that you enjoyed this video. Please, again, like, comment, and subscribe right down below. I would truly, truly appreciate it. And I hope that you have a beautiful, beautiful day. And always remember that if you are not growing, you are dying. None of us are perfect. It takes reevaluating over and over and over again to get to the results that you want, that you deserve. But
Now that is a powerful video. That's what I would say. And I think a lot of the notions that Chris brings to bear here to Blooming Ebony are admirable. So I think that that's something that we as individuals, we need to look at. We need to look at because there are so many things that goes into a relationship, a successful, functional relationship between a man and a woman. And as I mentioned before, it's necessary for us to go into these relationships being reasonable, being logical, looking at things from a realistic standpoint, okay? So now let's get into some of the final points of the video that stood out to me, because now remember, it's my job to look at this particular video from the male perspective, the masculine perspective. And so that's what we're going to do. We're going to look at it, okay? She has given me full permission to tear apart the thoughts in this video, but thankfully I don't have to do any tearing. Most of it was self-explanatory. But like I mentioned, let's get into the final point. One of the things that, first of all, that stuck out to me are the 2 laws that her mother gave her. I say laws because these are hard and fast. If you apply these particular laws, then they'll never fail you. First one, you shouldn't want anything that doesn't want you. That's logical. That's logical because it would be a waste of time to run after something and to want something and to put energy into attaining something that in the end you won't be able to attain. What are we doing? What are we doing? And then the next one, she says, never chase a man, they will come to you. And that's also true. That's also true. But now, in that particular instance, what's being emphasized is not just simply waiting somewhere, just sitting idly by and waiting for someone to come to you. No, in the process of that waiting, what you're doing, you're developing yourself into the kind of woman that will be a wonderful wife, into the kind of woman that will be a wonderful mother, into a woman that nurtures and that loves and that shows the proper amount of respect to her husband, the kind of woman that will enter into a relationship and bring value. That's what that means. You're taking on that particular connotation. You, instead of focusing on pursuing a man, you are doing things that will better yourself. And so when that individual makes himself known, then you will be in readiness to enter into a long-term committed relationship with that individual. Yes, you'll have a wonderful marriage, okay? Because that's what we deal with on this particular platform. People can have whatever kind of relationships they want, but in this instance, we're talking about long-term committed relationships marriage. What's the next thing? She said she noticed that from looking at another YouTuber's platform that there were many, many women who looked at themselves and they overvalued themselves. They had a high estimation of themselves than they needed. It was inflated, the estimation of themselves. They thought more than they needed to think. And so she went on to say that really what that is, you're setting yourself up for failure. Because you're not being realistic, because you're not being reasonable, then you're setting yourself up for failure. And I agree. Because as we mentioned, now anytime you're entering into anything, you need to know the ground rules. And then the ground rule will help you to act in a way that will result in your benefit and the benefit of those around you. And then she gave that powerful analogy about the BMW and the Nissan. Listen, I have seen some very nice Nissans. I've seen some very nice BMWs. So whatever you choose to drive is your business, okay? But now in this particular analogy, I thought it was powerful because you had the opportunity. Your credit was good. Everything was right for you to be able to get this particular luxury vehicle, this BMW. But in your area, there were none. You'd have to wait until they shipped one in or until you went to another area. But regardless of the situation, you would have to wait. But you need a car now. And so what you decide to do is to go down the street. There's a Nissan dealership. And you're going to get a Nissan, right? And so when you buy that Nissan, what you chosen to do effectively, you chose to go from a luxury vehicle to a more modest vehicle. But there was a choice that you made. So in that case, you would be settling for a Nissan because you met all of the qualifications that were necessary to get the BMW. But you said, okay, I tell you what, since y'all don't have the BMWs, I'll just take a Nissan because right now I have to have something to drive. And then I think she hammered the point home. There are so many individuals, men and women, I might add, that come to the market with Toyota or Nissan money, but they expect to leave with a BMW. Now, as a man, I fully understand this because in everything that we do, whether it's work, whether it's personal life, whatever it is, there are standards. There are requirements for whatever you enter into, right? And so because there are requirements, then you know coming into this situation that these requirements are things that you have to meet, right? So you're under no delusion as to what's required of you. You know that if you meet the qualifications, you'll have a good outcome, a good result, and you know if you don't, then the outcome is going to be bad. You know that coming in. And so her mentioning that particular analogy just really hammered home the point that individuals who come into the marketplace looking for a relationship and they don't have realistic standards, they haven't been taught the realistic expectations that they should be expecting when dealing with the opposite sex, they're going to have difficulty. Because guess what? If you meet all of the qualifications for a Toyota or a Nissan, then that's what you're going to get. That's what you're going to get. If you don't meet the qualifications for a Lexus or a BMW or a Mercedes-Benz, you won't get any of those. There's not one car dealership that's going to allow you to drive off the lot and they know that you don't meet the qualifications. Your credit score is garbage. Your job does not allow for you to meet the minimum requirements for affording this particular vehicle. You will not be able to obtain that vehicle. You won't. And I think that's a logical way to, because why else would they come up with things that you have to qualify for? In the past, individuals who have qualified in these particular areas have gone on to have good payments, report good payment history. They haven't had difficulties with keeping the vehicle. Nobody had to go out and repossess or take the vehicle away. So you get into a whole gamut of things that could be difficult because individuals have a product that they didn't meet the requirements for in the first place. And so the same is true. If you don't meet the requirements for a particular lifestyle or a particular individual that you or you may favor, you may want, you may think you all are compatible, but if you don't meet the requirements, then you're setting yourself up for failure for trying to reach out for that particular person or reach out for that particular lifestyle, and you're not meeting the requirements. You're setting yourself up for failure. And then she went on to say that another powerful point. Most of the things that you run into that are overvalued, they don't sell. They don't. They don't sell at all. They just sit on the shelf, collect dust. Because when you look at things, the main way that a product is priced is according to how products of a similar nature or a similar use are priced. So if you go into the store and you see a laptop, I'll say a laptop because that's part of my specialty, right? You see a laptop and it's $700. You have the same processor, right? You have the same screen size, right? You have the same hard drive within the laptop. All of those things are the same. In another laptop, they cost $400. Which one would you buy? And might I add, the manufacturer of each is comparable to each other. Which one would you purchase? Would you purchase the $700 one or would you purchase the $400 one? Anyone with any common sense would purchase the $400 one, right? Because evidently the $700 laptop is overpriced. It's overvalued, right? So most would choose the lesser of the two as far as price is concerned. You're getting the same value because they all have the same components, but at a cheaper price. Anybody who has common sense would choose the cheaper price. And so that's what Chris is saying. If you overvalue yourself, individuals will not choose you. They won't. They won't. And I think that that's a powerful thought because it's okay for anyone to have self-esteem. It is. You should. You should have the necessary amount of self-esteem. But when you begin to go beyond what's necessary, now we have a difficulty. Because now you're not playing the game according to the rules. And if you're not going to play the game according to the rules, then in the end, you will not win. You won't. It's impossible. Okay? And then I think that she made a powerful point right there toward the end. Right there toward the end. If an individual has in their mind that they are of a certain value, and maybe that value doesn't meet who they actually are. Maybe that value is not the reality of the situation. You're setting yourself up for a situation where you're going to resent who it is that in the end you choose to marry. Think about that. If you feel that you need a high earner, right? Let's just use some of Kevin Samuel's standards. If you need someone that's making over $100,000, they have to be 6 foot tall. They have to have a six-pack. All of these things, right? You feel that that's what your value equates to. But then in reality, your value is not an individual that meets those particular standards. It's below that. When you enter into a relationship with somebody that meets your standards, you're going to look down on that particular person. You're going to look down on them because you're going to feel, well, I chose something that's less than what I deserve, when in actuality, it's exactly what you deserve. Right? It's exactly what you deserve. You had Toyota, Nissan money, you got a Toyota or a Nissan. You had BMW money, you went and got you a BMW. These things should not be foreign to us. They shouldn't be, because they're all reasonable. This is a reasonable way of looking at things. This is a reasonable perspective. This is something that's logical. And that's where we need to deal. We need to deal with logic. What's reasonable? I know what's required. I know what I have to meet in order to obtain a certain thing. And so I approach it the same way. I approach it in a way where I can obtain what it is that I need. Okay? And then that final point, because I had a few that were listed here. The very final point, she said, now, if you're not growing, you're dying. And so that just underscores the fact that as individuals, we need to continue to fight to be the best version of ourselves. We need to continue to put forth effort to become better individuals, better at everything that we do. Not to say that we're ever going to be perfect, but we can endeavor to be the best that we can be so that it'll benefit ourselves and everyone around us. As I mentioned, this was a powerful video. It was a brick through the windshield. If that didn't get your attention, I don't know what will. Because that particular information, even though it was focused on the sisters in our community, it most definitely had a lot to do with the brothers too. Because there are a lot of us that overvalue ourselves because we're not putting in the necessary work to be the best version of who we could be. We do the same thing. But it's necessary, I think, to look at this situation and to be positive and to say, okay, this is what I need to do. So let me be about the business of doing it. Those are my thoughts. Once again, man, listen, I guess I'm not going to ever be able to do the final thoughts because I get so emotionally tied up in what we're discussing that I forget to hold back a little bit. And so I just give you everything. No big deal. No big deal. Listen, please like, comment, and subscribe. We know that individuals are enjoying the content, and we hope that we can continue to do what we do here. Shout out once again to the Blooming Ebony. Please like, comment, and subscribe to her channel. As always, man, we hope that things go well for you all. And we hope that this particular video was not too heavy. We hope that it was beneficial to whoever decides to sit down and take a listen to it. All right. Thank you for tuning in, and thank you for listening to my thoughts on the video. Please be easy.